A professor has a peak to reach. A doctor has a surgeon has a profession to reach. A chess player has a peak to reach. So my approach is really to follow this principle of body, mind, spirit. And it has to start with the individual. Uh, because if you take care of yourself, then you are in a position to take care of your near and dear ones.
Welcome to our first live show of the Happiness Community with Amulek Singh. And what better way to kick it off than over a cup of chai? Welcome, Amulek. Thank you for joining us today for this conversation. My name is Ashu Khanna, and I am a life coach, and I have with me Amulek Singh, who is the founder and CEO of Chai Point, a very interesting entrepreneur who actually worked with Microsoft, started his journey in the tech industry. He's done an MBA from Harvard. But at some point, he noticed that, you know, India is the ritual of it, culturally. We are all about chai. But what he saw was there were more coffee cafes coming up than chai cafes. So he decided to address that gap and say, I won't get chai in everybody's hand, accessible everywhere easily. The chai pe charcha has to happen over a cup from Chai Point. He's integrated. What has been brilliant about Chai Point or amazing is the integration of tradition of chai with innovation. And that's what we are here to talk about with Amulek today as to how he's done this whole seamless or integration and made chai accessible and available through Chai Point, that we see at every airport, every place, and it's going to be even more out there as we go along. So thank you and welcome, Amulek.
Thank you for having me, Ashu and the Thinkly team.
You've had a very interesting journey from making the best chai at home as a young 10, 11-year old to now being a real chai wala. Sorry, pun intended. Tell me a little about the journey.
Well, the journey has a bit of serendipity around it. As a kid, I grew up in a joint family, and not even as a 10-year-old, as maybe a 6, 7-year-old, I somehow was entrusted with the job of making chai when the joint family was getting together. And I think I was good at it. But that was the end of it, really, at least at that stage. And then later on, when I realized that I would like to try my hand at building a consumer brand, Chai Point happened, and then the dots connected. So that's all there is to it, really.
Chai is a dominant part of the Indian culture. You've really redefined the chai segment by providing quality and standardized chai. Because otherwise, everybody makes chai so differently. Adrak ke saath, masale ke saath, nimbu ke saath, iske saath. Chai is just so personalized, but yet you've come up with this whole chai point concept. How did you really go about standardizing and offering quality and yet personalize it?
See, the whole idea was to standardize, and the thing with chai, uh, even now that's the case. I mean, we are the largest seller of chai, but our market share is 0.05%. So we're nowhere as compared to the full potential of the market is concerned. So I can still say that for the broader market, there is no standardization in place. And you get a sense of quality and you get a sense of consistency once you bring in standardization. Once you plan to reach out to the consumer with a high quality standardized cup of chai, there is real estate, there is operations. When you look at the classic retail model, but then when you start thinking of the consumer and the convenience that the consumer demands, then you start evaluating delivery as a model. And then the consumer wants even greater level of convenience, which means literally stand up from the seat, walk not more than 3, 4, 5 steps and get your cup of chai. That's when you start thinking of machines or bots to freshly brew the cup of chai on demand. And when you think of this business as an integrated play of machines, delivery, stores, walk-in, multiple formats, multiple cities, then that's when, the idea starts developing its rightful complexity. Rightful because the size and scale is so large that if you have to address it, you can't address it in a simple manner. So that has been broadly the journey that we've been on. And then you also take into account external events, positive and negative, which drive or can impede your growth. So, yeah, that's how the whole model has transpired.
And what would you say has been the biggest challenge, as you, because obviously it's complex as you go on expanding through this space. What has been your biggest challenge and how has your leadership style really helped overcome that challenge?
See, an entrepreneur's life is full of challenges on an ongoing basis. But in several ways, the question is somewhat cliched because challenges, though, are there. But if I look back at a pattern and what's the biggest challenge that comes up, the biggest challenge relates to how you build your team, well knowing that the team will have its churn, that at every stage a different kind of a team will be needed, and there'll be only few who will have the character, capacity, and alignment to go with you for the long haul, right? And when you evaluate these things, then you need to constantly grow as a leader. You need to evaluate your own capabilities as a leader at every stage. So, in summary, the biggest challenge has been to build, curate, and get the maximum out of a team as an entrepreneur for me.
What is your biggest strength or how do you get the best out of people?
So, my biggest strength, you've asked me two questions. What is my biggest strength, and how do I get the best out of my people? My biggest strength, I believe, is my tenacity and authenticity. I believe in a very transparent way of communicating and sort of sharing details about the nitty-gritties of the business. I believe firmly that we live in a world which is increasingly getting more and more transparent. So the more transparent you are, the more authentic you are about your intentions, the better it goes well with the team. Uh, so these two things are my strengths, I think, authenticity and persistence. How do I get the best out of my team? And that's where I've been learning a lot, right? And if I sound in course of this interaction wise on these matters, trust me, it has come at at a huge cost, and and many of it is hindsight based wisdom. But I think what I've figured out now is that it's very important for any entrepreneur, leader. Entrepreneur by nature have to be leaders. So let me use the word leaders. I think it's very important for a leader to internalize the notion of a team. I think the word is so often used because everybody realizes it's critical, but appreciating the meaning of a team requires, several years, if not decades, of actually pursuing that path of both being a team member as well as a team manager. And without doing it, you just don't get it. I'm very, very clear. So I am of the firm belief that, personalities are of two types: individual contributor, by personalities with an IC, individual contributor bias, and personalities which sort of work well with people. Uh, Not to say that ICs can't become great managers, but it requires real practice. So the sooner you get a practice as a team member as well as a team manager, the better it is. That's why I firmly believe that kids, for example, all these things start taking shape when you are quite young. I have come to realize the importance of team sports. I firmly believe that the best coaching ground for one to become a real good team manager is is sort of the is sort of the experience, or reflecting on the experience of being a team player. So how do you get it at an early stage? By playing team sports. And what are the team sports that genuinely are team sports? Hockey, football, volleyball, handball, all these kind of games which require basketball, which require a very fast paced, dynamic, everybody switched on kind of a role play. Uh, Cricket is a team sport, but I don't think it's an intense team sport because there are only two or three players who are really active at any given moment. While as in all the other sports, everybody is on the alert, everybody is playing. So once you get this instinct of what exactly a team is, and you get that instinct by being a part of a team, and the starting point of such teams are sports teams, and you start very young with that sports team participation, then over the years, you really develop an instinct around building the right team. Team building is not a notion on which you get skilled in MBA schools or in classroom and coaching sessions. You get better, you get the right articulation, and many a times the right articulation can unlock a lot of thoughts which are blocking a person's way of managing. But true practice uh, requires you to internalize that. So, as a the process of internalization for me has frankly taken time, and I find myself only now to be really be able to talk about the topic in an authentic manner where I know the topic, hopefully to the listener or participant in the conversation, will deliver value. Um, and That's how I'm really sort of getting an output out of my team. The starting point is selection, selecting the right people. Then it is also about engaging with the right people. And if you realize that you've taken a wrong call, then weeding out the wrong people and getting in the right people. I can go on this topic, but
Now, yeah, yeah. So it's a constant dance, like you said, between team player and leader, and really going with your instinct as who's right at what point in time.
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
sports
No,
team coaches, sports team captains, if you try to understand how they operate, in my mind, you get the best notion of team management, and getting the right outputs from the team.
true, true. So moving on, innovation is a very big part of Chai Point. You really revolutionized Chai Point with innovation. What have been some of the trigger points which pushed you to be innovative? And what next is possible in terms of the innovation here, if you're willing to share with us?
See, the prime ask from the consumer today is convenience. And the bar for convenience is getting raised. We are all now talking of 10-minute deliveries. Actually, we are not even talking about them. We have accepted them. So now the new benchmark of delivery, as an example, is 10 minutes. And the old notion of delivery within the same day being great is gone, right? So convenience bar is getting raised. And I think that is the foremost driver for innovation for a lot of industries, definitely for us also. So the classic notion of a beverage business, which is freshly prepared, is that you open a cafe and that people will come and sit and enjoy. It is true, old things don't die just because new things are coming up, but delivery is important. But then when you do delivery in 45 minutes, what do you need to do the same delivery or the delivery of the same product in about 15 minutes? That will not happen without innovation. That will not happen without automation. That will not fundamentally happen without new kind of training and new kind of skill sets being imparted to the people who are at the front line. And then when you expect to deliver the same beverage to the person within a minute of the demand getting triggered in the person's mind, that means you need to have a machine which can brew the beverage literally in seconds to meet this demand which comes in a person's mind in about a minute, minute and a half. That again means that you are innovating and you are building that machine. So the pathway to innovation for us is really based on this driver of more and more convenience demands coming from the consumer side, right? And so we started with stores. Then we said, okay, let's do delivery. Then we said, okay, let's brew machines. Then we said, okay, let's not brew chai in batches, but let's brew chai in cup by cup, on demand, cup by cup. Then we started participating in large events, and then we realized, how do you do brewing in very large volumes in a consistent fashion? How do you brew literally thousands of liters of chai for a single day's consumption? That calls for innovation. And at each step of the innovation, you are training your team. You're getting a different kind of team. Team not only using the machine, but repairing the machine. Team not only managing the store, but now managing new kind of equipment. Teams not only repairing the older equipment, but this new kind of equipment. So, innovation just follows then each and every value stream of this new convenience demand driven feature, right? So when I look at our future, the same thing is coming. And that's how we are progressing. We are just keeping a tab around convenience. We are keeping a tab around health. We are keeping a tab around personalization. And these three things demand innovation.
So you've obviously been a very real runner on that. I'm going to segue into what is our title today, Happiness in a Cup of Chai. I remember, when I was growing up, and my dadi, whether you had a headache, a stomachache, fever, anything, the answer was always chai.
Yeah.
And it was symbolic of खुश हो तो चाय, दुखी हो तो हर मूड में चाय. So what is and happiness mean to you? It's a very evolving definition. All of us have different perspectives to this word happiness. What is happiness for you?
What is happiness for me? I literally meant it, Ashu. This is not canned, so this is completely on fly.
Yes,
So, so
go for
happiness.
it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, happiness. A few things that I've figured out. I don't think I have a crisp one-liner which will just wow everybody. Um, but I think happiness, I'm clear on few things that happiness is not a matter of just chance. I do believe that chance, call it fate, call it destiny. I'm much more comfortable with the word chance because I fundamentally believe that you can't escape probability. You can always debate about fate and destiny and so on. So, chance has a role to play, given, but even once you give chance its due place, happiness requires effort. Happiness doesn't happen on its own, right?
Very well said.
So, so, and if you are looking for happiness which is coming from a joy which is driven by sort of the physical experiences, you're in the mountains or you know, anything which relates to physical experience, you will have to put in effort to first and foremost be physically fit to do that. Without that, it's not going to come. And that requires effort. Similarly, if it's an intellectual pursuit which gives you a joy, uh, let's say if somebody is really happy at Gukesh being a world champion, the true happiness will be for somebody who really understands the intricacies of chess, and I don't. But for that person to be happy in that moment, that person would have had spent multiple months or years in learning chess. So that's effort again. So I think my theme is that happiness requires work and effort. It may sound boring, but it is true that you are genuinely happy when you pursue something with an intent over time, which means that you have put in effort. And as you start realizing the fruits of that pursuit, you get a sense of joy. That's that's at least my belief. Uh,
So, so when you
right?
look at your journey, so thank you so much for really on the fly, candidly, authentically sharing your perspective. When you look at your journey, innovation, entrepreneurship, there is just so much that comes together, and there's an effort every day to keep on meeting the customer requirement of convenience, quality, standards. Which of this process, what gives you maximum joy in it?
See, I mean, again, my approach is this is a very personal definition, right? I mean, I know that much that people have varying sort of views on the notion and approach to happiness. But what works for me is that number one, I feel I've always felt uh, lucky, blessed. I have had gratitude for the circumstances which accompanied me after my birth. I mean, I was born in a decent family. I got the right support. I never felt uh, being denied of anything, right? So, and that's the role of chance, and I'm grateful for that. But with that as a given, with that as a notion in my head, I have always put in some goals in front of me. I have been like that ever since I was a kid. Uh, and the goals were typically ambitious. And as I met more and more capable people, the goals became more ambitious. And that process still continues, right? Couple that with the notion that I am a pursuit driven person. Every time I achieve that goal, I think I feel happy. Uh, I've also come to realize that many a times the goals don't come to you so quickly, or sometimes they don't come at all. Uh, but then experience has taught me that if that happens, invariably there is a bright side. So if you appreciate that bright side, all is good. So, maybe this is boring, but frankly, that's how it works for me. I mean, I take a target, I go after it. I like to take things to a closure. I always have a picture of success, not as per anybody else's definition, but
Of
I have
course,
a picture of success for everything as per my own head. I have a picture of success for Chai Point. I have a picture of success for other pursuits that I have, other goals that I have. And I drive myself towards achieving that. Uh, and then I decide, do I take it to the next level? Do I bring in a new aspiration? All those things evolve. But that's my operating principle. That's how I
yeah.
work.
Yeah, so everything you're very right in saying that ultimately it's all about effort, and we have to make our life happen on our own. Chance aside, we have to make it happen in whatever is our definition of whether it's success, it's happiness, or leadership. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are, wanting to get onto their journey of entrepreneurship? Any few tips for them?
Wow, that's also a big one. Not that the question is new, but it's always a big one. So, the most important thing is to appreciate that this is a very serious endeavor. It's serious because it takes a heavy toll on the person who wants to be an entrepreneur. It takes a very serious, demanding toll from the family members, uh, invariably close family, who's affiliated to that person. It takes a huge amount of time. So it's not a matter of 3, 4, 5 years. You should be allocating decades to it. Yes, sometimes you reach your goal earlier, but that's chance, and chance is not in your control. What is in your control is a certain milestone being reached, and if you analytically evaluate those milestones, be it any sector, I firmly believe it's a decade, decade and a half, often 2 decades kind of a journey. And all these things, they require serious reflection. So once you appreciate that this is what it's going to involve, then you got to test yourself whether your past track record, I genuinely believe that again, unless you are starting at 16, 18, and 19, which is great. But let's say somebody is thinking of it at the age of 36 or 40. If your past track record, honestly to yourself, talks of persistence, great. If you yourself are not willing to give yourself a high score on persistence, don't follow. Don't pursue it. You're fooling yourself. So, and if you are giving yourself that high path, high score towards persistence, then go all out. But don't discount the role of chance, and don't discount the people, your family, invariably, um, and they will have your family in the sense that they will have to support you. So don't discount their effort. Uh, don't discount the time and attention that you need to pay to them alongside your pursuit of entrepreneurship. Uh, the rest are details which are very specific
Yeah,
to
yeah.
business models.
So how do you, just one last question before we close up today and start open it for questions. How do you find, is there any practice you follow for balancing your personal and this whole entrepreneurial journey of yours?
See, so I'm fond of movies a lot, so I'm fond of reading books and a lot of movies. So I firmly believe that physiology leads psychology. Psychology can never lead physiology. What do I mean by that? That if you don't have a personal discipline around keeping your body fit in the long haul, short haul you may, but in the long haul, you will not be able to take your mind to the peak that it actually has the potential to reach, right? So to me, that's the starting point. You got to take care of yourself physically, then you take care of yourself mentally. Because as an entrepreneur, or anybody in any demanding job, I'll also like to say that the word entrepreneur has, yeah, it is a cool endeavor, but thoda zyada hype hai usko, right? Even people, even people who work in government sector, corporate jobs, or any profession, a doctor, you know, the high performers there, they have pretty much the same set of challenges or many a times different kind of challenges. So I think the side note, this over glorification of entrepreneurs sometimes really irritates me, right? And it makes everybody feel कि बस यही है दुनिया में और बाकियों का रोल कुछ इतना important नहीं है, which is all bunkum.
Yeah, but everybody faces pressures.
Yeah, everybody. And everybody has a peak to reach. A professor has a peak to reach. A doctor has a surgeon has a profession to reach. A chess player has a peak to reach. So my approach is really to follow this principle of body, mind, spirit. And it has to start with the individual. Uh, because if you take care of yourself, then you are in a position to take care of your near and dear ones. Uh, and it is important that you are ready to take care of your near and dear ones because only then will they reciprocate. I mean, it may sound transactional, but that's how life works. If you have your family, if you're not ready to take care of them, what makes you expect that they will take care of you?
Yeah, you got to give to get.
Yeah, you have to give to get, right? In every relationship. So, and that's why you got to start with yourself. So my approach, and I'm learning and I'm evolving, and I've done tons of mistakes, tons, and I still do a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect at it at all, but I realized that uh, body, mind, spirit is key. Spirit, I mean, what do I mean by spirit? Not to make it too arcane. I think some me time, some meditation, some individual pursuit where you're lost in it. Uh, any meditative exercise, direct or indirect, to me takes care of the spirit, and then you can go down that rabbit hole and see how you can go further.
Yeah.
But body and mind is obviously a lot more clearer. You take care of your body, and then you lead a disciplined life. You have some rituals. You do certain things with a pattern, and that keeps your mind sane. And then spirit I talked about. So I believe that for me, if I'm conscious and if I am genuinely delivering a high score in taking care of these three things, I'm in a good zone to overall deliver well and ultimately have a decent happiness score.
True. Thank you so much for sharing about, your practices, your strategy, your challenges, and what keeps you going. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much again. Thank you. A pleasure meeting you again, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you, Ashu. Bye bye.